Well, I left Oklahoma, driving in a Pontiac, just about to lose my mind. I was going to Arizona, maybe on to California, even on living some line. My mama called me crazy.
All right, folks. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Uski and Herbie show. I'm Chris Heidel. I'm Herbie, and filling in for Uski, who is on medical leave right now. George Bashira, who does the Shakedown Thunder. Big show this week here on the program. It's 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Thanks for all for being part of the show. We got some great guests lined up tonight. We have Kevin from the coach from Morgan State men's basketball, Kevin BROADUS. How do you say his last name again? I just did it perfectly. I just did it off the air, and now I screwed up again. Oh, boy. It's BROADUS. Yeah, Kevin BROADUS will be on, and he's actually here with us right now. Let's get him on. Hi, Coach. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing?
Great, Coach. And you?
Doing good.
I'm good. I'm sorry I'm on my phone. I'm sorry I'm on my phone because I couldn't pull it up on my computer for some reason.
It's okay. I had to use my phone last week anyway, so it's okay. We're good. We're all good here. So thanks for coming on tonight. Big win for you guys last night up there in New Rochelle, New York, against Iona and Rick Pitino. So just talk about Coach Rick Pitino.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It was a tough, hard-fought game, and he's a Hall of Fame coach. He's turning that program back into a powerhouse. So, we're just lucky to be able to compete.
Yeah. So you guys have a home game this weekend. You guys been. How different is the basketball this year than last year? Because I know this time last year we had fans and people were cheering for it. Now you got cardboard cutouts and probably the guy from Weekend and Bernie's on there in your area.
Yeah, it's a lot different, and we're just fortunate enough to be able to play with or without fans, and we're just trying to have fun and win games while we're doing it. We're learning in the process. But, it's a blessing. And most of these guys will tell you, man, it's been tough, but you just got to make the most of it. And we're trying to make the most of it.
George, go ahead.
So, Coach, with this whole COVID stuff and everything, how is it just jumping into a regular season schedule?
It's been very interesting, and it's going to take us some time to get to where we really want to be. Normally you have scrimmages or you have at least officials coming in and working your practices. We haven't had any of that, and, your first few games, you're using it almost like they were scrimmages. We're learning on the fly. So we're just trying to make the most of it. It's tough, but like you keep saying, we're just fortunate enough to be able to play the game we love and just trying to make the most of it. No complaints.
Yeah. So here in South Bend, Coach Kelly would tell a football team, he's actually using the phrase "bring your own juice," because there's no fans in the stadium. How do you work with the guys to be a little more aggressive on the floor in their floor talk, right? Because they now that they can hear each other talking, you don't have the fans. How do you get them to communicate better and just try to keep them juiced up to play?
Well, first of all, I'd like to know if I can steal that line. That's a good one. Bring your own juice. I hope he didn't copyright it, but I'd like to use that. Well, the beauty of and you got to make sometimes a negative into a positive. So a lot of times we try to get our teams to communicate as coaches, and without fans, you can hear if your players are communicating or not. So it's not I didn't hear them because the fans were so loud. We use that. We're trying to make that into a positive. So our guys, like you say, our bench, when the guys are sitting on the bench, that's our juice. They're our fans. I tell you what, I use our first game. We played at home against Mount St. Mary's. And you would have thought it was a home game for Mount St. Mary's, how excited their guys was. And I played that, replayed that for our team. And it's like caught on like wildfire with our team. Our team has been very much more into the game. They watched that and it was like, wow, those guys really was into the game. And I tell you what, Coach Dan Eggleston over there at Mount has done a great job, and he had his team ready. And I tell you, they was into the game. We got out to a good start, big lead, and they stayed into it. And they I tell you what, they plucked away and they beat us. They were the better team that day. And that's what we're trying to do every game and every play, keep our players engaged. We had, like Coach Kelly said, we got to bring our own juice. It's got to be with the coaches and the players on that bench. So, hey, it's no excuses. We're not going to make any excuses for the conditions we're playing in. We're just trying to make the most of them.
Yeah. Well, talk about Coppin. You and Coppin State. You know, Coppin State has Juan Dixon, and I know you're a Maryland guy. So what was it like going up against the former Maryland Terrapin, who was basically brought the championship here to College Park? You know, we're up here in Cockeysville, but still, you know, seeing him being a coach now for your rival.
Well, you know what? Like I tell our guys, on a normal year, it's just 2 games on our schedule. And we're trying to win every game, even those 2 games, but we're trying to win all the rest of them. This year, we're playing 4 times. So, you know, being that Coppin and Morgan is a rival, we respect that. But we're trying to win every game we play, not just Coppin and rival. I mean, just Coppin. We don't just have Coppin circled on our schedule as the game to play. We're in the process of trying to beat everyone. And that's just 4 more games we got to compete against that we're trying to win. And he's doing a good job with his program over there.
Yeah. He must beat Duke last week or a couple weeks ago, almost.
Oh, yeah. He played Duke very well. He played them very, very well. Impressive.
And that's probably why they lost last night, probably, because what's the game plan now? You know, like there's a game plan to beat Duke. Yeah.
Hey, I tell you what, I tell you what, you know, playing at Cameron on all the days when I was at Georgetown, and, you know, those fans alone are worth 15, 20 points on any given night. I mean, without those Cameron crazies, I mean, it's a different atmosphere. And now you're seeing it, but we can't take anything away from Coach K. He's won more games than I think any coach in America, in the country. He's a Hall of Famer. He's going to figure it out. Trust me. You know, everyone gels at different peaks in different times during the year, and he will figure it out.
Yeah. Well, you have a game on Sunday against a team from Kentucky, so I guess that's going to be a difficult game because of all this COVID stuff. Hopefully, they can get into Baltimore with no issues, and you guys can do that game on Sunday. But let's talk a little bit about that team.
I tell you what, scary team. They're really, really. They played Duke really well, really, really well.
You're muted, Coach.
League teams, Howard, they've been pretty good at Howard. I'm sitting here right now as we speak before we start talking. I was watching them on tape. They're competitive. I mean, they've been really good in Division II. This is the first year Division I. I don't know who on our staff scheduled that game because they are very good, very fundamental, very smart, play hard. The coach has done a great job there. He's been there for like 26 years, and I'm impressed with what I see.
Yeah. One last question to ask you. John Thompson Sr. passed away this summer. What did he teach you as a young guy growing up being a basketball player and coach? Because he was there for your press conference, and he was basically like a mentor to you.
He was a mentor. You know, he taught me, you know, in life, being a black man in America, you got to be better than most. You just can't be average. You can't go to work and not work. He always told you got to work hard. He made it a point to say, okay, now you're working hard. That don't mean you're going to win. It gives you a better chance to win. Doesn't mean automatically give you, you know, that you're going to win. He just taught me how to approach the game, approach kids, how you deal with them every day. And, you know, it's interesting. Every day I'm dealing with anything. I hear his voice in the back of my head. And taught me a lot. Just taught me a lot about being a good person as a coach. Not just being a good coach, being a good person while you're coaching.
That's true.
Coach Thompson was one of the best coaches. You know, I was a 70s baby, so growing up in the 80s and watching Coach Thompson coach, he was the epitome of a college basketball coach. It was always great to see him coach on on the bench and sitting there. You know he was working because he was always wearing that towel.
I tell you, it's interesting. I give you a quick story. We, my first year at Georgetown, back in 2003, I think it was, Duke came in to play us. Speaking of Duke, they were #1 in the country. And then we was a big underdog, and it was like one of the first sellouts. And, you know, it was our first year. We was putting it together. We were struggling a little bit, and we won. I remember J.J. Riddick had like 44 points, and, I mean, he went off. I mean, one of the highest scoring games he had in college. And we won like by 1 or 3, I can't remember. And we all celebrating in the locker room and going crazy. And here come this big guy walking down the hallway, said, "Y'all ain't done you know what yet." Now, I can't even say the words he said. Y'all ain't done, you know, and we just beat the #1 team in the country, and he just put us all like, I mean, the move went from all the way up here to just board the whole room down. And I was
All right. That's Kevin BROADUS, who's the head coach of the Bears of Morgan State. Yeah, dude, I remember John Thompson and Boeheim used to hate each other. Yeah, they were like, and Boeheim was like, when he passed away this year, Boeheim actually wrote a, very nice note saying, it was great to have coach and, but those two used to go toe to toe. It was like that was the old Big East, my friend.
It was always a good game when Coach Thompson was on the sidelines and had that towel on. You knew it was a game because he as a coach, he was giving it his all.
Right, exactly. He gave his he worked hard, and plus he was playing behind the 8 ball because when he was with the Big East, he was the only black coach. It was like the all white eternity, and he was getting all the people were like yelling at him, screaming at him, calling him names, and he called I think he called Georgetown one time, "We're thugs, we don't care," I'll call him that,
And think about the guys that went through that organization.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Now Patrick Ewing's the coach, and I'm like, that's pretty weird seeing Patrick Ewing as a coach. I'm like, I know but I got a Patrick Ewing story real quick before we're waiting for ZAVEN Collins from Tulsa, who's supposed to be joining us. I was down in Orlando. I had a media pass. This was back in 07, 06, and I was like, all right, I'm down there watching the Raptors versus Magic, and you're allowed to go in the locker room after the game for the Magic, okay? So I'm about ready to open up the door. Guess who comes out?
Ewing.
I look out, I go, well, how you doing, Mr. Ewing? How's everything going? I'm looking up going, I'm thinking to myself, please don't kill me.
I will break you.
Yeah. And he goes, how are you doing? He goes, you doing great today? I'm like, yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Nice meeting you, Mr. Ewing. So I called my brother on the phone afterwards, Will, and I go, dude, I ran into Patrick Ewing. He's like, my brother Will's like, oh. He goes, how was that? I go, it was nice. It was nice. It was a nice conversation. Don't get me wrong, but I was scared. Yeah, I don't mind because I'm thinking like this is the guy who used to like get in the boards and elbow people and throw fist pumps and punches when he was with the Knicks.
Can we be honest? That's when basketball was basketball.
Yeah, with Rodman.
Basketball, men's college basketball was more of a team sport back then. It's a totally different game today. It's definitely not the same game as it was back then.
No, it's not. It's terrible. This basketball now, it's like everything on ESPN. There's a slam dunk.
Yep.
It's like, okay, we're good.
Yep.
I think you did do that. Thanks for that message, dude. Folks, I do want to apologize for the coach there. We don't have the horn yet, so we're going to invent one.
We missed the beep.
I know. I'm looking for. I thought he said it. I'm thinking to myself, no, he didn't. I'm like, I don't want to say something to the coach because I want him to come on another time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about some news and notes around the college football world here. If you guys missed it last week, BYU had made a you heard it here from the left side. BYU. BYU says we'll go play with you. Come on down because I think ESPN called them and said we needed you to fill this hole. Yeah. and they did it.
I'll tell you what. Shout out to Coach Chadwell. He got his guys ready for that game. They were true to themselves, and they played good football.
Exactly.
And there's no other words to describe it. They played
3 weeks ago. So here's my question and answer with him.
This is Dabo. This is Chris Heidel from Herbie from Radio in Baltimore. Congratulations on taking another trip down to Charlotte for 6 years in a row.
Thank you, Chris.
Just talk about how tough is it to game plan for a team that you already played against a couple of weeks ago, knowing that you already know their strengths and weaknesses.
I mean, I don't think it's tough. I mean, it just kind of is what it is, this championship football. I mean, you're not going to really trick anybody. You are who you are. They are who they are, and who can do what they do better. It comes down to matchups and the things that make a difference in games like that. It's usually 3 or 4 plays. So it's turnovers, it's penalties, it's field position. It's the game within the game in these type of games when you have 2 really, really good teams. But hey, this is what you work for, and we'll be excited to play them again, and hopefully we can find a way to win this time.
That's true. You're trying to find a way, but I think it's harder trying to play against somebody the second time around, and basically less than 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not easy. Not an easy deal.
Right. So we're still waiting for ZAVEN Collins to join us from Tulsa. He's having a hard time getting on the program. I don't know. There's something wrong with link. I don't know. Did you have any?
Fill your spot with what Coach Kelly's response to that question would have been.
Yeah.
It actually came up in Coach Kelly's press conference. And he says that on a rematch like that, it's basically, folks, it's coming down to defense. Both teams have seen each other, how they play. People typically talk about, the rematch kind of being like a blowout. He says it's about the defense. And so Coach Kelly is expecting a very defensive game from Clemson.
That's true. Hopefully it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a great game down there in Charlotte. They have 25%. They're not going to be a full stadium. Yeah, this is last year. The full stadium.
5,700 attendees to the game.
Wow.
For the press release today.
Yeah. So next week we'll be starting our coverage on Wednesday night here on Herbie Radio with the Uski and Herbie show, and then we'll do one Saturday night after the game is over. I know you're probably going to do yours probably after the game as well. Yeah, but we'll intersect with each other.
Yep.
Yeah. So
it's going to be a very. I'll tell you what though, it's kind of nice having kind of a down week in between that game and last weekend's games.
So hold on, guys. We're trying to get on here. So anyway, yeah. So that's next week here. Yeah. So we'll wait for him to call us here. We'll do the old-fashioned, what ESPN does. You put the photograph up of the guy. Hey, that's what you do, man. You got to do what you got to do. So anyway, it's 8:24 here on the program. Thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Heidel. I'm Herbie, and for filling in for Uski, Ewan McCreef, who's George for sure, who does a fantastic job with Shakedown Thunder sports. Does a lot of stuff with Notre Dame. Does football, women's basketball, and hockey, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you do baseball as well?
I was actually dipping my toes into the water of baseball.
Until the COVID thing started?
Until I was told on March 20-something that I could not get on campus because all sports have been shut down.
Yeah.
Yep.
Crazy. So anyway, we're waiting for Collins to give us a call because we're a kid from Tulsa. Let's talk about this Ohio State situation. I want to talk about.
Sure.
Yeah. I want people's viewpoints here. Does Ohio State deserve to belong in the college football playoff with a 5-0 record? Folks, go to our page right now. Go to my Herb FM Twitter page and vote yes, or no, or maybe, and let me know. Right now, the yeses says yes by 72%. I think I don't think they should be going to the college football playoff because I think everybody else has, more wins than, 5 wins. You got Clemson, who is basically, they have 1 loss, and then you have Notre Dame's undefeated, and then you got Alabama, did their thing. So,
But think about this, Chris.
what do you think?
These teams right now are in 4 have pretty much played double the season of Ohio State. Okay.
Right.
They started pretty much on time, these other teams. Ohio State in the Big Ten, they came in 5 weeks later and they planned on starting in 5 weeks into the other folks' season. You're twice as fresh as the other teams right now, the other 3 teams that are in the college football playoff top 4.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge advantage. And you can't be rewriting the rules just because of a situation. It's a brutal situation. People complain about the SEC complain about the ACC dropping the December 12th games,
Right,
for Notre Dame, and where's the discussion about the Big Ten going and rewriting the rules so that Ohio State can qualify for the championship?
Yeah, I just think it's ridiculous, and plus also I think the Big Ten thinks that the Indiana Northwestern game won't pull anybody to go, to Indianapolis. I'm sorry, you're in Indiana. You have the state school. I know Notre Dame is above Indiana. Here's Bloomington. Here's Notre Dame. Here's South Bend up here. Who cares? You got Indiana representing the Big Ten. And if they get a chance to go to the college football playoff to represent the Big Ten, let them do it. Or Northwestern. But why you got to get Ohio State special privileges?
The problem becomes, Chris, it becomes a bigger problem with the college football playoff committee. This is just an opinion. This is just my thought. What now makes the difference between the college football playoff and what the BCS used to be?
Right.
It's still a subjective discussion, right? There's not objective evidence. It's subjective. And just because someone passes the eye test, I would say Texas A&M passes the eye test, sitting there at 5.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
A team that has played 5 games or is going to be 6, it's weird.
Well, and I think the Big Ten needs to let them open up. I think Nebraska earlier this year wanted to play somebody in place of Illinois, and the Big Ten said, no, we're not doing that. You can't do that. To Nebraska. Nebraska can't have that. You can't schedule a non-conference game against Central Connecticut or something like that because you need a win. Blah blah blah. What's wrong with Notre Dame? What's wrong with Ohio State scheduling Notre Dame or scheduling a game against Coastal Carolina? Or somebody like maybe Liberty. You want to play against a big boy? Go play against Liberty. We'll see. If you need 6 wins, there's Liberty will give you a game. Or
and the flip side is,
or call America.
6-1.
Yeah.
Indiana at 6-1 gets denied.
Yeah.
Played 7 games compared to Ohio State's 5 so far.
Okay.
And Indiana should be going up against Northwestern. It shouldn't be Ohio State.
Yeah. It's stupid.
You gotta let things play out the way they should play out.
Right. And rules are rules. And like your mother tells you, don't break the rules. Rules are rules. And I feel like the Big Ten caters to the Ohio State Buckeyes because they're the only one that is very competitive. Michigan. What if this was Michigan having the problem? Michigan wouldn't even get that. They'll tell Michigan to go, stick your head in the oven and go away. Yeah.
Well, if I was Indiana, I would be having a discussion with somebody because they played more games, and now Ohio State gets to go up against Northwestern.
Yeah.
And that's
crazy.
It's like you teach a kid, a rules of a game like Monopoly or Chutes and Ladders, right?
Right.
Tell them not to change. You can't make up the rules as you go. You got to stick with the rules that are laid out.
Exactly.
And just because it didn't play out the way it's expected to, you can't. It becomes, you know what it does. It shows you to cater to participation. You're trying to write a situation based upon someone being undefeated and playing less games, that they're more qualified than a team that's 6-1.
Right. And I think if you're Illinois, I think if you're Indiana, go to the nearest courthouse and sue, because they could, because there is opportunities and there is ground that, there was a contract that everybody signed in the Big Ten, and then now you're going to change it on a Wednesday before the title game.
And Chris, no one has to think that this is a whatever against Ohio State. It's just the way you play ball. You make rules. You don't go changing the rules to fit in to the way you want things to happen. It happens.
Right. Exactly. I agree with you. Well, we're trying to wait for Kelly Hines, but I guess she's running behind. Hopefully she's okay. We'll get her on. We're on till 9:30, so we'll just throw them all in there when we get them. Yeah. It'd just be like one of those, like when you make a pie, you just throw stuff in there and looking around. But we'll bring up Maria, the head coach at the Mount St. Mary's out there in beautiful Emmitsburg, Maryland. Maria, how do you say your last name? Because we were having a hard time saying it. I got March because that's my birthday month. But how do you say the rest of it?
Yeah, it's just MARCHESANO.
MARCHESANO.
Yep.
And George goes for the win.
It's easier than it looks.
I just pronounced it the way that it looked. I'm going with it, and it worked.
That's awesome.
This is not Jeopardy, and I'm on Alex Trebek, so you can't go. When there's no daily double for that one, George. Anyway, Coach, tough week this week. You were supposed to play Maryland on Tuesday afternoon, and this little thing called COVID showed up. Yeah, it's almost like a this little thing that nobody sees. I don't know how the Ravens saw it in their facility. I'm like, it's like, how do you see a disease?
Right.
Now you have suspended activities until how long? How long does it take for you guys to get back to play?
Well, actually, the CDC just recently changed the protocol. So the ones that test positive have automatic 10 days. And then those that test negative, as long as they continue to test negative through 7 days, on the 8th day, they can get back, which is a pretty big improvement. At one point, it was an automatic 14 days. So while it is a bummer, we're excited that hopefully in 7 days, we'll be back at it.
Yeah, you'll be taking on LaSalle in what, 14 days or?
Unfortunately, the LaSalle game probably won't make it. We were supposed to play them Saturday. Our first day potentially back would be Monday. So we're trying to rearrange our schedule right now and try and figure some things out. We're supposed to start conference. Some of our conference foes have already started. So hopefully we'll get our schedule figured out once we see these test results within the next 5 days.
Yeah. Go ahead, George.
So, Coach, how do you keep the players that can practice, up on their game and keeping them motivated, knowing that there's a delay? It gets into the psyche. I mean, these are young student athletes. They're dealing with school, and they're trying to play a season through a virus. How do you just keep the ones that are healthy and even the ones that are not healthy? How do you keep them focused and say, hey, there's still something for us to do here?
Well, it's tough, no doubt about it. What we have planned this week is we're going to do some Zoom film sessions. It's not great, but we're just trying to make the most out of it. We'll break down some of the stuff more in depth. When we started games, it was back to back to back. So we'll break down some of the stuff that we saw in games more in depth. We'll talk about our first conference foes and start watching some of their film. Unfortunately, the CDC guidelines and the Mount guidelines are you really can't do much physically in those first 5 days, even if you're, healthy and no symptoms and testing negative. But you hit it. I mean, mentally is the toughest part, keeping them positive. Right now they're done with school, so they don't even have something else to kind of take their mind or keep them busy. So I think that's our biggest worry right now is they have, 7 straight days in their dorms with basically nothing to do. And really they're having their food delivered to them. They're not really supposed to leave. It's tough. It's not fun. Obviously we know we're not, the only team going through it, but it doesn't make it any easier.
Is there some type of exercise regimen that they can do without getting into the gym to try and keep themselves in shape?
I mean, it's tough. Our strength and conditioning coach will give them some stuff, some band work, some plyos, a stretching routine. But like I said, the first 5 days, they're really not supposed to raise their heart rate too much. Yeah. They are allowed to go outside and go for walks and get fresh air. But they're even supposed to keep that minimal, again, away from all other people. So the physical part is very tough, honestly. And that's where the, cutting it down from 14 days is huge, because 14 days was really detrimental to the physical aspect of the game. 7 still is, but at least it's manageable. You can kind of bounce from that a little bit easier.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I heard talk about this whole virtual reality, and you guys have to do it from the computer, and you can't really show them until you get to the court. I think Humphreys from the Ravens called it like playing Nintendo, just sitting in your in your room, virtual reality, but it's not but you just sit there. Just walk us through how you guys teach. It's like you have to be a teacher, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is frustrating. I'm not going to lie. I mean, internet technology isn't always perfect. So if I'm showing film on my screen and I hit pause, it might glitch on somebody else's screen. And I might say, hey, Taylor, what do you see in this set? And she's like, well, it froze on my screen. So now we have to rewind it and go back over it again. So it definitely has, it comes with some frustration. But like I said, we're just trying to make the most of it, keep their mind locked in on basketball. We do have, other software that we use that we can send to their phones and send them clips. And we have software that can even quiz them on the film. And there's things that we can do. But like you said, just trying to keep them positive and locked into the game. It certainly is a challenge, but they have nothing else right now. So we've got to give them something.
Exactly. Well, I was looking at the roster. You have 2 young ladies from down under. How did they find the Mount down under? Because I'm very intrigued, because there's a young lady in Maryland who came from Mississippi State who's down under. And I'm like, how you found Maryland? How did you get them there to come to Mount, saying, come to Mount?
Yeah, sure. No, that's a great question. Unfortunately, those 2 didn't make it back this year. And I just saw my husband mentioned that Australia just shut their borders down for another 3 or 4 months. So it's crazy, but no, they didn't make it back. But originally, there's a ton of scouts anymore, and there's a ton of recruiting services. And we have a couple contacts that really study the Australian players. I guess she's a couple seconds older. The older twin, she's a little bit taller. We call her Lou, Annalise. She had quite a bit of interest from some other schools in our conference. And we got quite a few, emails from her, and it was really all on them. And then, once you click on one of those links, because we get bombarded with emails, right. Once you click on one of those links and you watch it and you're intrigued, and then you see the connection with the guy that kind of has a pretty good reputation in the States with recruiting Australians to the States. So we started putting things together. It was a tough recruiting process, obviously, getting them over here, and that's very expensive. Obviously. And then the sister kind of was a last minute deal when we had a scholarship open up. So that's how we kind of got them both here.
Oh, that's cool. Awesome. George, you got anything else?
I was just going to say, along those lines, this whole COVID deal has got to be, it's playing havoc with everyone trying to recruit. You've had to rediscover how to do this without leaving the confines.
Yeah, recruiting has been, and I feel so bad for those classes, especially the 21 class. I mean, not only did a lot of their junior seasons get cut short, then they didn't get their AAU season, and now a lot of their senior seasons are getting cut short. And then what's even worse for that class is, the NCAA coming out and saying that this is a free year. So all of our seniors have the potential to stay and play another year. And those kids that would have been freshmen, for us, the 21 class was a huge class. We had 5 seniors. We had been preaching that you're going to have an opportunity to play right away. And then all that flipped up in the air because there's a pretty good chance we're going to have a veteran team again next year. So I feel very, very bad for the 21 class. And then the 22 class, just the same. They've missed out on recruiting opportunities. We finally had to offer a couple of kids that we never saw in person, which is very, very crazy because, there's only so much you can learn from film. But what we've done is we've tried to recreate an official visit or an unofficial visit on our campus. We have videos, we have pictures, we go through all the academic stuff. We just try and take them through what it would be like if they were here. And obviously nobody's stopping them. We're not allowed to have visits, but nobody's stopping them and their parents from driving up and driving through campus if they want to see our campus. We had one local kid that ended up doing that before she committed. Her and her parents drove around. They said they loved it. And we're like, oh, when were you here? And she said, we drove up yesterday. So it's definitely been a challenge. And it's an uneasy feeling because recruiting is such a crapshoot anyway. And now not being able to see kids in person, it's definitely been a difficult challenge for us.
Yeah. Well, I want to say with this disease, we can't mess around with it because I know George is going through it. I just had a brother just had it after surgery, and he made it through it. He's perfectly now, but you can't mess around with this thing. So it's one of those things you gotta be serious, and hopefully this thing goes away.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely the priority, keeping our kids safe and really our families safe, and everyone that's helped making this season happen for us. We have so many people at the Mount and across America who are sacrificing to make the college basketball season happen. And it's up to us to be vigilant with our masks and washing our hands and not going out in public. And it's a small sacrifice, but at the same time, we're in a pandemic and you have the opportunity to play college basketball. What would you be doing otherwise? You'd be sitting at home. It's not like you're going out. So it is a sacrifice, but at the same time, we're so blessed that we get to do this.
That's true. Well, Coach, I want to wish you and the team good luck. I hope everything gets back to normal, and we'll get you on like after the holidays and see if it's a happier side of things.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thanks for coming up. Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays, guys.
Let's see you. All right. Hopefully this will. That was the coach of Mount St. Mary's, Coach Maria. Come on, go for the block.
Chris,
Yeah.
a quick observation. All of these coaches have the same emotion.
Yeah.
They're all used to trying to nurse 1 or 2 players back to health, right?
Yeah.
But they're having to nurse half of a team back to health.
Exactly. I was watching ESPN last night, the Duke game, and Jay Billis, who is a Duke guy, a grad, and he said this year is ridiculous. You got kids you can't go home. You have kids you're going to stay on campus. They're basically the government saying you can't travel, but we'll have the basketball team travel to Chicago, and play in a tournament. It's basically it's like. And these kids need to get some pay, because what if they get sick and my girlfriend and I were talking about it last night on off the air, watching the game. There's going to be major lawsuits. There's going to be one parent going to be really upset that their son got COVID or died from this whole thing, and look out NCAA. You're going to be really sued by, and you won't have any money left pretty much because they're playing with fire.
It's a very interesting topic.
Right. Exactly.
It's one of those you tread lightly on.
Exactly. And like you and I were going, we went through it. I went through it with my brother, who is officially home today from the hospital. So he's back to normal. He looks like Al Borland with all the people from Home Improvement. I was making fun of him on the phone. But it's glad to see him, back home, and knowing that it was 2 months of stress on my family is over with. And how's your mom doing? 'Cause I know we talked.
My mother's doing much better, thank you. She's doing what she's supposed to do and taking the medicine she's supposed to take, and
Mhm.
the symptoms are the symptoms. The woman that she was taking care of, though, passed.
Okay.
So
Wow.
that was very sad.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really sad that my brother got it from one place to another place, one
Yeah.
hospital bed to the other hospital bed, and we still trying to figure out what happened here. Like what happened. So
If you told me back in March when I stepped away from my office on March 12th, I wasn't planning on going into the office on the 13th. That was because of things that were going on here in the house. So I was making my arrangements not to go into work on the 13th and got approved. Okay.
mhm.
Now to look back at this 9 months, if you had told me I was going to be sitting in my office here every day the past 9 months, I would have said you were crazy. I was getting ready to go back to work, back in the office in September, August, September timeframe. I
Yeah.
did not see this going into December as far as not being in the office.
Well, I agree. I got laid off because of COVID, and I was enjoying the win free cash. Sitting back, relaxing, bills, catching up on things, making sure everything's all caught up, and gracefully, I had a great, my girlfriend's parents actually understood what was going on,
Yep.
but and then when I got back from the beach, in August, I was like, well, I guess I have to get a job now because all the unemployment stuff, all that surplus was running out.
Sure.
I was ahead of the curve because everybody's still out now, who was basically trying to find a job, and nobody's hiring anybody. They're hiring whatever they want to hire, and with this stuff going spiking, I feel like we're all going to be shut down again in January again. Yeah.
Well, we should, like you said, everyone's got to appreciate. I don't care what team it is. They need to appreciate the student athletes that are still out there playing sports
hmm
and doing what they're doing, because it's a tough thing to deal. And like you said, the sacrifices of not going home.
Exactly. I agree with you.
The teams that are going to be in the college football playoff, there is no going home for Christmas. They've been here through Thanksgiving, and they'll be on campus through Christmas.
Yeah.
Christmas and New Year.
Because if they go home, they have to quarantine for 10 days or 14 days, and that's basically part of their practice time. And
By the time you get home, by the time you come out of the quarantine from home, you're coming back.
yeah, so it's like ridiculous. So anyway, folks, thanks for tuning us in tonight. We're still waiting for Kelly Hines to join us, but if not, we'll move it on down the road. We got Ricky LaBlue coming on. He does a Hokies podcast for the Virginia Tech Hokies, who are basically they're not going bowling this year, dude. First time since 1992.
Nice.
That's I was doing some research and I found this. They didn't make a bowl in 1992, and here's the program of the last game of that year.
Wow.
Yeah, look at that. That's crazy. Let me take the banner down so you can see it a little bit better. Virginia versus Virginia Tech, November 21st, 1992. Like, wow, that's crazy. So, what do you think about Virginia Tech not going to a bowl game? It's like Florida State, and now Florida State can't even get to a bowl game. We got to the bowl game last year and didn't know how to win the Sun Bowl. Yeah.
You know what, Chris? All these teams go through a time, right?
Yeah.
They go through a time where they've had to reach a low. And from that low, you rebuild and you regrow.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's sad not seeing Virginia Tech, not go into a bowl game. But you know what? they're not gonna like the taste that's left behind in their mouth, and they're going to have to and they're going to rebuild, and they'll be better. Give them a couple of years,
Yeah.
and they'll be back at it. They'll be back challenging Clemson, for that ACC championship.
Do you think Justin Fuente is going to be gone? Because I know this time last year he was putting his nose around the country looking at different jobs.
I'm not sure about that, Chris. I hate to talk about coaches and those types of situations,
Right.
but I think you gotta take a look at it. Is it one of?
Exactly.
You got to give. There's things that go on. There's things that this year I'm not going to use unprecedented terms. I don't like the phrase.
Mm-hmm.
Unprecedented times, but it's a different year. I mean, let's be honest. If Michigan, who has a 2 and whatever record, right, and they're offering Harbaugh a new contract, so people thought with that record that Harbaugh was going to be gone, right?
Right.
And here's Michigan offering him a new contract.
Crazy.
So
well,
I can't describe it. It's just weird.
Well, I think the problem is they're trying to keep him away from the Jets because the Jets need a new coach because they're going to fire Adam Gates. He's gone. I don't care if they win 5 games in a row by the end of the year. They're gone. He's gone. They just fired Greg Williams for his stupidity last week with the Hail Mary.
I don't think keeping Harbaugh in Michigan is a good thing for that program. I think that it hasn't worked to this point, and now they need to move on.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I heard myself in reverb in the background. I'm like, I sound weird. Anyway, but it's to me. I think Harbaugh needs to go somewhere else, and I think his brother come to Baltimore and be on your brother's squad. That'd be fun having the two brothers helping each other out. Yeah.
I thought that Harbaugh was going to be the coach because there's 2 types of coaches. There's a coach that can manage adult football players and can't manage college players. But then there's a coach that can manage college players and not manage the adult football players.
Exactly.
I kind of expected a little bit more out of Harbaugh at Michigan than what's coming out, currently.
Yeah, I agree. I just feel like he did really well at Stanford, went to the 49ers, trying to get him to the Super Bowl. He lost to his brother. And then Michigan called, and he goes, when Mama calls, you come, And I feel like what he did at Stanford is not working at what he did at the 49ers is not working in Michigan.
Well, Chris, there's a phrase that they use in industry.
Mm-hmm.
Don't chase the money. Because if you chase the money, you're not going to end up in a good spot. And whenever he got out of Michigan to go there, chasing the money, going back to his alma mater, it's just not working.
Right, exactly. Well, it's 8:53, so if anybody wants to send us a text message or want us to answer a question, you can always text us at 443-567-0746, and we'll answer whatever you want to answer. If you have a baseball question or a college football question, or why do I have a Florida State banner in the background, because that's the question of the day, just give us a call, folks. I know you're out there in online. Thanks for making us part of your Wednesday night. We'll be back here next week, previewing the big games in the Big 12, the ACC, the AAC, and also the Big 10 is playing the same day as well. So we got all big games on Saturday, and then we'll get to that college football playoff thing on the 20th, and we'll see where people are going.
So, college basketball, I mean, it's kind of weird. I mean, it's kind of getting to the point of where college football is. all these games that are scheduled, and then games just start falling off the schedule, Chris.
Yeah.
It's brutal out there.
Yeah.
It goes back to what you said earlier. You're trying to manage these young athletes to play, but then the bug comes creeping around.
I think I saw something on Facebook, on Twitter today. The ACC Big Ten Challenge, Big Ten 3, COVID 7, and an ACC 1. It's like Kobe got the winner. Yeah.
Trophy.
Yeah, it's like, good job, Kobe. Yeah.
Brutal.
If you have. Oh, anyway, so folks, thanks for picking. Ewan will be joining us next week. Hopefully, we'll see how he's doing. Yeah. So if you have a question for us, you can text us right now at 443-567-0746, and we can answer whatever question you want us to answer. So just text us now. You can also see us on Facebook. We'll give you that down on the bottom here. We're on Facebook and Twitter. We're actually on Twitter. Our program on Periscope is on Twitter now, so we get more hits on Twitter. So I saw that last week. I was like, yeah.
There you go.
Hey now. Zion Collins, we tried to get him on tonight. He had technical difficulties with his computer. We're going to work with him next week because I think next week will be best to talk to him because they have a big game next week against Cincinnati instead of this week when everything got canceled. Yeah. And we'll also get CJ Marbley on the phone next week too on the program. So it's going to be a big show next week. Plus, we'll try to dig deep into the ACC championship game between Clemson and Notre Dame. We'll get you. You could get whoever you want to get on. From Notre Dame. I'll try to get somebody from Clemson on. We'll have like a roundtable discussion or something like that. Try something new. And then we'll be back on Saturday night. We'll be on prime time. No, we're not taking over Ron James's prime time. But we're doing that. So we're doing. We'll be covering the ACC championship next weekend. Anyway, we're coming up to the top of the hour, waiting for Ricky LaBlue to join us, who covers the Hokies. Hokies and the Cavaliers playing for the Governor's Cup down there in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Big game between both schools because they're only basically 100 miles away from each other. But it's funny with Virginia, George, because I have a place in Virginia, in Harrisonburg, Virginia. You got JMU, who is a little bit better than Virginia Tech and Virginia combined. It's fascinating that JMU is not in a bigger conference in the CAA.
It's weird how that stuff aligns.
Yeah, but anyway, so so we were talking about the Tulsa game got postponed for next. They were supposed to play this weekend against Cincinnati, and they had to postpone it because of the COVID issues in Cincinnati, so hopefully we'll get that taken care of as well. We got more videos to share with you. I talked to Duke is struggling, George, ever since they played Notre Dame pretty well, the first game of the year.
Yep.
They've been like a dumpster fire trying to figure out what the heck's going on down there. So I talked to Coach Cutcliffe because this week they're supposed to be playing Florida State in a makeup game, and to me, both teams can't even go to a bowl game. So to me, this is like, why are we playing this game? It just probably because they want to make sure they have all the games in. So they say, hey, we finished the season. So here is Coach Cutcliffe talking about what they're going to do this weekend against Florida State.
You get in years like this, you certainly start having conversations as a staff. And not just in games, but you're evaluating your depth. You have ongoing recruiting. We've got a lot of good young players.
Hello, Dave. Hello, Dave.
You get in years
Dave?
like this, you
Dave,
certainly
Dave?
start having conversations as a staff. And not just in games, but you're evaluating your depth. You have ongoing recruiting. We've got a lot of good young players. Certainly a lot of them are playing snaps anyway. So as we look and build toward the future, absolutely. But do we focus on our seniors and sending them out winners? First and foremost, for sure.
All right. Thank you for your time, Coach. Thank you all for joining. As always.
You're on mute, Chris.
Well, Dave did not show up there, but it was trying. What happened was he was trying to tell me that he evaluates everything, and then you got to do string ball and everything else. But I think this game Saturday is a good idea to see what you got for next year.
You got to put it out on the field, right? You got to start the early assessment.
Exactly. Well, let's bring it in the top of the hour here. We got Ricky LaBlue with us, who covers the Hokies down there in Blacksburg. A big game in the Commonwealth this weekend. This game was originally scheduled for the first game of the year, but everybody had COVID, so they moved everything back to the end of the year. And now we're trying to figure out who wants the cup. So, Ricky, just talk about Virginia Tech. Last week they basically gave Clemson a good first quarter, and then that was basically it.
Yeah, Virginia Tech definitely kept it a game for a bit longer than Tech fans were anticipating. Prior to the game, everyone was basically predicting Tech was going to be out of the spread by halftime, right? And it ended up being a one-score game through halftime, and then the third quarter is when everything started to blow up. Tech's kind of on the rails here. Justin Fuente's future is obviously uncertain. There's questions at quarterback, whether Hendon Hooker is going to be ready to go. Braxton Burmeister went out. Virginia Tech was on their third-string quarterback at the end of the Clemson game with Knox Kadum, who's a redshirt freshman. So Tech's in a bit of trouble here. No serious players have opted out over the last week. Obviously, Quincy Patterson's name generated a lot of news, but he was the third-string quarterback prior to this. So Virginia Tech will be relatively at full strength, all things considered. But Virginia Tech's certainly in a bit of an issue right now.
That's true. And they haven't Virginia Tech hasn't missed a bowl game since I think I was in elementary school.
Yeah, I mean it's a situation where not only has Tech been really good, but they've also benefited from the amount of bowl games. I mean, there were multiple seasons under Frank Beamer, especially at the end of his tenure, when Virginia Tech probably shouldn't have made a bowl game, right? Right. And even in 2018, when Virginia Tech had their first losing season since '92, they ended up making a bowl game still, and they probably shouldn't have made a bowl game that year either. There is a chance that Tech makes a bowl game this year. They've waived the 6-win requirement, obviously, which is the only reason that they're still technically eligible. But there have been multiple ACC tie-ins that have been canceled at the bowl level so far. So there's not the supply of bowl spots that there usually is, and there's it was Joe, I think it was Joe Giglio over at the News Observer in Charlotte who mentioned that Tech and UVA basically might be playing for a military bowl berth here. The ACC apparently wants someone who's relatively close to Annapolis. Tech and UVA obviously fit that bill. So the winner of this team may get an opportunity to go play in that game, and the loser might be on the outside looking in.
That's a great compilation prize. I live in Maryland. Let's go to Annapolis, everybody.
I've actually been to that stadium to cover that game. It was a lot of fun. I actually really enjoyed it. It was cold as hell. But Annapolis isn't like Charlotte, right? Charlotte's a lot of fun to go to. Orlando is a lot of fun to go to. Miami. But Annapolis, not so much. And not to mention the traffic is absolutely horrible.
Oh, my God. I live like 30 minutes away from there. And when it was supposed to be Notre Dame versus Navy this year, George, I said, oh, my God, it's going to be a traffic nightmare because there's only one way in and one way out of that stadium. And I'm thinking to myself, somebody's going to be sitting there for 36 hours trying to get out.
Yeah. When I covered that game, I was staying at a friend's house in Georgetown, and it probably took us 2+ hours to get from Georgetown to Annapolis, which was absolutely insane. And they were playing Cincinnati that year. It wasn't like they were playing a big draw.
Right. Like playing, somebody like Florida State or somebody. It was just Virginia Tech and Cincinnati. Come on, people. But in Maryland, that's like they used to have that bowl game down at RFK Stadium, and that was a better place for everybody to go to. And then they go, let's go to this small little stadium.
Yeah, like, it's a cool venue, but obviously they would be better suited trying to get that game into a better arena. I guess whenever Washington's new stadium gets built within the next decade or whatever the heck that happens, that might be a place where they maybe move that game.
Exactly. George, go ahead.
Washington's got to get a name first before they start thinking about new stadium.
They beat the Steelers. Come on.
Let's go there. Let's not go there. Let's give Ricky the attention. Ricky, covering a team, I could say when Notre Dame, when they went 4-7 that year, okay, it's always a rough ride. The fan base is always up at arms. It's never an easy go. But as we talked before you came on the show, there's always that turnaround. Sometimes you got to hit that low before you can build up again. Virginia Tech will rise from this ash, and they will be a better football team. Sometimes you just need to get to that point and then do this whole reevaluation process.
Yeah, but I think there's a case to be made that 2018 was supposed to be that season. Tech was absolutely horrendous that year. They were very, very poor in big games. They got blown out multiple times by ACC opponents, and it was supposed to be kind of rock bottom for Virginia Tech. And then we saw rock bottom again in 2019 with the 35-point loss to Duke at home. Obviously, Pitt this year was another instance of that. The Liberty game obviously didn't go very well. So you put all these together, and fans start to wonder, well, where the hell is rock bottom? Like, how much lower are we going to keep going before we start to get up on the other end and we start climbing out of this thing? And they have every reason to be skeptical and angry about where the program is headed, though, so far. Justin Fuente did just basically overhaul the entire defensive staff coming into the season. Justin Hamilton was the only returning coordinator on that, or excuse me, only returning coach on that side of the ball, and he got elevated from safeties to defensive coordinator. Every other coach on the defensive side is really new. Now, there's a case to be made that the offensive side of the staff is the one that needs to get overhauled next, and that could certainly happen if Justin Fuente keeps his job. But I think Tech fans are just wondering how much longer the decline is going to go before serious signs of improvement are seen, and that's a valid concern.
That's a good point.
Bud Foster retired, so he was the face of him and Frank Beamer, and then I think Justin kept him on for 5-6 years, and then he retired, and now everything's brand new, and now you don't have the lunch pail anymore, so that's another thing that's gone. Do they still have the lunch pail?
There's definitely been a culture problem. It's kind of hard to trace exactly when that started. 2018 is probably where it started, with multiple players being either dismissed from the team or being declared ineligible or transferring when they really didn't have a reason to transfer. And there's long been a discussion as to whether or not Justin Fuente should have kept Bud Foster in the first place. I think that he should have. I think that they made the right decision. But all of this has kind of come together at a bad time, right? So Bud Foster retires at the end of last season, and Justin Fuente has to replace him. He replaces him with an extremely young and green coach. We have to remember, Justin Hamilton was only a safeties coach for one season. Before that, he was a lower-level assistant on the staff. So this is a guy who is basically in his second, third year coaching at the FBS Power 5 level. And all of a sudden, he's taking over a defense, and he's trying to institute defensive scheme changes, and then they don't get the kind of spring practice that they're supposed to have. You have opt-outs. Caleb Farley, who is probably Tech's best player, if he's playing, opts out before the season even started. The second best corner, Jermaine Waller, has been battling injuries all year long. So you put all these together, and there are some reasons to give Justin Hamilton another shake. But as I've written before, I'm not all that confident that Justin Hamilton is ready for this kind of position.
That's true. I think he's too young. I think they should have got somebody with more veteran skill and then have Hamilton ready to go when those. Keep Bud Foster. Yeah, I know Bud and did Bud Foster and Justin Forte like butt heads a lot? It seemed like they weren't talking at the end of the year.
No, there were no. At least from my end, there were no signs that Justin and Bud butted heads, for lack of a better phrase. Justin Fuente did not have to keep Bud Foster. There's a notion out there that Whip Babcock basically told Justin Fuente, you have to retain Bud Foster. That's not the case. Justin Fuente wanted to keep Bud Foster around. I think he would have liked to have kept him around longer, but given Bud's personal life, he just got remarried. Bud's had some personal health issues over the last couple of years. There's reason for Bud to go ahead and retire and to step aside. So I don't think that there were any issues between those two, and I don't think that that's why Bud Foster left. There were other circumstances that led to that.
Exactly. George, do you have anything to comment on?
No, I'll just say, the flip side is you got some basketball going on, right? So,
yeah, I mean, a lot of Tech fans are already declaring themselves a basketball school, which is obviously premature. But now Virginia Tech basketball has certainly kind of taken over the intrigue of the fan base. We'll see how long that lasts. Obviously, Tech basketball did not have a great performance last night against Penn State at home in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. And if there's any sort of coaching change made, we're definitely going to see the Tech fans obviously refocus on football, because their worries will be, who the heck are they going to hire to lead this program? And that's another thing that a lot of people don't discuss. There are not – this coaching pool of candidates is not all that great. There are some decent fits to be talked about for Virginia Tech in Blacksburg and in that town, but there's not very many of them. And that's got to be something that Whip Babcock considers, along with the $10 million buyout minimum that he's going to owe Justin Fuente, and that doesn't include the buyout number that he would owe his assistants.
Exactly. Well, Ricky, thank you so much for coming on. And real quick, talk about your podcast. What do you guys do? The Hokies Hangover. I guess are you still hungover from last night?
It's funny. So we call the pod a Hokie Hangover, and I don't believe any of us have actually been hungover during the podcast. There has been alcohol consumed during the podcast, but no, it's a lot of fun. Mike McDaniel, Andrew Alex, these are both guys who are, we're all kind of in the same age group. We all graduated from Virginia Tech. We've all been in the sports media field in one way or another. And we just got together last year and decided that this would be something that we would have a lot of fun doing. And even though Virginia Tech has struggled this year, the podcast has really grown, and we're having a lot of success. And we would appreciate anyone who wants to come along for the ride. So Hokie Hangover, we're available on every single app you use to listen to pods, whether it be Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, the whole 9 yards. But thank you for giving me a chance to do a shameless plug there.
Hey, and if you don't mind me giving a quick plug, Chris, hey Ricky, I need to get together January 10th for the talk. We can talk Notre Dame, Virginia Tech. How does that sound?
Sounds like a plan. I'd love to.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll get you guys on. All right, Ricky, thanks for coming on, man. Have a great rest of the enjoy the game this weekend, and happy holidays to you and your family.
Definitely. Thanks for having me on, fellas. Appreciate it.
Stay healthy.
Thank you. You too.
Ricky. That is Ricky LaBlue, who works for the Hokie Hangover. Yeah, that was I was wondering if they were hungover still, because that's a great name for a podcast. I was reading the other day going, somebody's hungover. Yeah.
It's a tough situation down there in Blacksburg. It's very sad.
Exactly. Hey, I've been down to Blacksburg, and very nice stadium. I hear myself. There's the other Chris and the other one. Stop talking. No, I'm kidding. But No,
place
I've
is
been down to Blacksburg. It's a very nice place, and it's a nice college town, you know. And when you're in a college town like that, like anywhere, it's like South Bend or Newark, Delaware, or Harrisonburg, Virginia, and you're in the major college there, you are going to get reamed if you don't do well.
well, Blacksburg. We all know how loud that place can get during a football game.
Yeah.
Pretty loud.
You know, they played Enter Sandman last week. There was nobody there except for cardboard cutouts. I was like, and like you were telling me about Notre Dame, you know, about your trip to the Notre Dame last week to Syracuse. You said that, you know, the game was like completely. There was no talk, nobody was cheering. It was like dead, right?
The environment, it was definitely different, Chris.
Yeah.
I've been there. My first game in the press box was Notre Dame versus Michigan. That was kind of like, that's the measuring stick that I use for noise level.
Yeah.
It got okay towards the end, but it was a tough go. I mean, you can hear I'm in the end zone, and I can hear the calls from the quarterback in the stands.
Nice.
So
You're like,
you can hear that stuff.
you're like, hey Ian, I'm right over here. I'm in the corner. In the corner. Like Don Meredith, you know, I'm in the corner.
Yeah. I was front row Don Meredith.
Yeah, exactly. Or what's Joe Namath is his wide receiver, the guy who Don Mayer, you know, wide receiver, you know. So anyway, our last guest, I guess we'll get Kelly on next week. I guess she's having issues getting on. I'll try to figure out what's going on with StreamYard. But anyway, I didn't ask you. I know you're a big football fan. We talked over the weekend. Your Giants won. Yeah.
What the heck? Okay, 2020. Okay,
Yeah.
the Giants are on a winning streak, and the Steelers enter a losing streak. If there was a game I thought the Steelers were going to win, it was going to be that game against Washington.
Right. Exactly. And then, what other sports do you root for? I know you do Notre Dame football. Do you like baseball?
I do like baseball. Yankees. Yep. I will claim to be. I would follow the Pirates. That's a beautiful stadium out there when I get to go out there to visit family and friends.
Yeah.
So Pirates are an okay team. I just wish their management would spend some more money, but that's not happening.
Yeah.
But hockey, I will forever be, as we talked last week, I will forever be a Whalers fan.
I know. I was thinking about the Whalers this week with the uniforms. I'm like, yeah.
When I moved out here, I gave up the Rangers because they weren't spending any money on that team.
Yeah.
And I've been a Rangers fan my whole life. So I adopted the St. Louis Blues before they won their Stanley Cup. So I was not a bandwagon jumper. Coming that they won their Stanley Cup. So
yeah, that's true. Well, I want you to introduce this next lady who's coming in to help us from the Frederick Keys. So today, the Major League Baseball it was pick your own affiliate day, or I guess teams had a chance to, minor league teams had a chance to change affiliates and all that stuff, and leave and go somewhere else, and something happened, on the way to. Hold on, why am I can't get that? There we go. So,
hi.
Hello, Marcy. Am I right?
Maci, yeah.
Maci. I'm sorry. I'm trying to really hurry. I'm trying to get you, George.
Good.
I'll take care of the host. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of him afterwards.
Yeah. Well, I'm today, and it's a sad day for you guys doing Frederick. After 31 years of Baltimore Orioles affiliate, no more. So, what's the mood like around there?
We're actually really excited. There was a lot of different ways today could have gone, and considering we will still have baseball in Frederick this upcoming summer, we considering what all the options are, we're quite excited for for what is going to be continuing there.
Yeah. It's gonna be cool. You guys have a very nice ballpark right off of I-70, and where we are, and where I live in Hoover and Concord, so it's only like an hour or two drive. So it's baseball. Baseball is baseball, right?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm focusing on with some of the phone calls that we received today is that for the everyday fan, it's not going to look a lot different. Of course, there are less home games. We're looking at 34 home games for the 2021 season. So, of course, that's less than a full season. But you're going to have draft eligible guys on our field who, in theory, are going to go on to play with one of the major league teams. So in a traditional sense, they're not going to go on to play specifically for the Orioles, but there's a lot of different Major League Baseball fans in this area, myself included. I'm a big Yankees fan. So if I can see a guy who could potentially be drafted by my team, I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, so just talk about this new league. It's basically a wooden bat league. It's just like an independent, like baseball, like the Atlantic League. We used to like with Lancaster, York, and all that stuff. Like these are old teams that were part of the New York Penn League. Like let me give you some names. State College Spikes, who are up there in State College, who is the Pirates, or used to be the Pirates organization. The Black Bears, Trenton Thunder, used to be the Yankees affiliate. Yeah. And then you got the Capitals. So basically, the old Eastern League teams and
Yeah, we're looking at 4 of the 6 teams are actually in the Carolina League with the Frederick Keys ourselves. The management and the ownership of 4 of those teams have a long tenure with Major League Baseball. And that's what we're most excited about is that there's still a Major League Baseball component, especially with the Frederick connection. So you're still going to have the family, affordable, fun environment and atmosphere that you're used to. It's just going to be different guys on the field. And so if you like baseball and you like affordable baseball, that's not going to change.
Right. Wow.
It's always good for the local economy.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've only been with the Frederick Keys since February. I was brought on right before the pandemic really hit us hard. And after I got settled in, even before the pandemic hit, I was like, man, I just signed on for a job that I could not have a job in, 9 months, 10 months. So the fact that there's still going to be baseball here and there's still going to be all of the community ties that, Frederick community is used to for 32 years. That's the important thing at the end of the day is you still have all of those community collaborations and opportunities. Whereas, we could have found out today there was no more baseball in Frederick. So as far as that's concerned, I'm pretty excited and we are excited to see what this next chapter holds for us.
Yeah. And it's sad. It was a great town. And I'm glad you guys still have baseball. And I think even Hagerstown might have the same problem too, right?
Yeah, Hagerstown, to my knowledge, has not been offered a spot with any of the branched out leagues that have happened. But like people have mentioned, one of the contributing factors is, our stadium facilities. And so we are, I guess in the big picture, I think everyone would hope that one day we can bring affiliation back to Frederick with whether that be stadium upgrades or a new stadium or whatever the organization and the ownership can work towards in the future. But for now, just to be able to keep the community partnership in baseball is the most important aspect. But in Hagerstown, they're not going to have baseball in the upcoming season. And so if we can just focus on the fact that there will be baseball played is pretty exciting.
Right. Of course, you got anything?
I was just going to say, it's got to be just kind of tough because you're trying to deal with this. We don't know where baseball is going to even be, though, with this whole COVID thing come next spring.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, go right ahead.
that's one of the other contributing factors, which, you know, a lot of fans are focusing on the fact that we're not affiliated. And first and foremost, we still are partners with Major League Baseball. There's still going to be that aspect. And then the other thing is, as far as COVID is concerned, everybody, all sports teams are still looking at restrictions, at least for the foreseeable future. Are we looking at 75% capacity, at 50% capacity? So it's really up in the air for everything. We're really relieved that we at least have the answer to the contraction question mark. But as far as COVID, you know, we still don't know what that looks like. We have, of course, we have ticket holders and community partners that we're still working on fulfilling their contracts for our 2021 season. And that's who we're most concerned with fulfilling, you know, is to make sure that everyone who decided to stick with us through the pandemic and through the contraction, that they're taken care of. And as soon as, you know, we have some clarity in the world, really, you know, hopefully in early 2021, we can start to see that there will be actual people in our stadium, because that was obviously the hardest part for everybody. But if we're, I think, a short season, which is what people are calling us, we're not a short season. We're not like a short season professional ball. It is, they are college guys, but the season that we're looking at, for a lot of reasons, is more doable. So to think that there's only 34 games, the fact that we might actually get to see it, that's the biggest highlight.
Yeah. And Maci, how do the players get divvied up amongst the teams?
So this is still ongoing to my knowledge, but the organization that is partnered with the draft league is going to be, I believe that it's the, I'm thinking of the name. Oh, there we go. The Prep Baseball Report. So they're the guys who are tracking everybody who's getting ready for the upcoming Major League Baseball draft. So to my knowledge, they will be the guys that are divvying everybody up who is potentially able to be drafted in the upcoming draft.
So, I mean, there's opportunity. I mean, there'll be a lot of parity amongst these 5 teams.
There's 6 of us total, but yes. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. Yep.
And that's, I mean, to me, that's really exciting. The fact that we're going to get to see guys before they are drafted, guys who might be on the cusp of, you know, the different rounds, but playing one more season with the draft league to put them over the edge and get them that grade that they're looking for to be drafted.
Should be an interesting thing to follow there.
Yeah. Well, we'll let you go. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll get you on after the holidays, and we'll give you information now.
Thank you so much. You guys have a great afternoon. Happy holidays.
You too. Happy holidays. See ya. I don't know. Was she using a power tool?
She was on a phone.
Okay. All right. Okay. Because I was like, I'm trying to figure out, like, man, this is all hardcore metal going on there. And I'm like, wow. You know, folks, they work out when they watch us on TV. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, so the Orioles, here's the new Orioles minor league teams this year. Norfolk is still the AAA affiliate for the Orioles. Bowie, Aberdeen, who is like 30 minutes where I live up the road, you know, from where I am, and Salisbury, Maryland. So that's the Orioles affiliate. For the Metropolitans, we have Syracuse, New York, Brooklyn, and Port St. Lucie. If they got rid of Port St. Lucie, I probably would have been up in New York beating the heck out of Sandy Olson, because that's my childhood right there, Port St. Lucie. Yeah, exactly. Well, folks, great show. It was sorry for all the mixed communications. We'll get ZAVEN Collins on next week. Plus, we'll get the guy from Coastal Carolina. We'll get him on next week as well. He had a family situation. We'll also get Kelly Hines on too. We'll see what happened to her. She said she was all set, ready to go. I guess something happened. But we had a great show, and folks, if you want to keep on voting, I want to get to see how many people vote on my poll question on my Twitter page. This is why I say belong in the college football playoff with a 5-0 record. Yes or no? You can go right now and vote on her with them on Twitter. So So George, you got next? What's your show this week? You have an off week, or are you guys wrapping up stuff? Or
I have an off week. I was actually thinking about and going off and maybe just doing a open discussion show, just going ad hoc with it and see how it goes. Um, I'm actually thinking more about just trying to take a week off and get some prep time in because I'll tell you what, having a bye week between now and the championship game, one, it's good for the psyche because the following week is a busy week. By the way, Chris, I'm not sure if you realize this. In and amongst Notre Dame getting ready for the ACC championship game,
yeah,
we got National Letter of Intent Day happening on the 16th.
ooh, that's a Wednesday, right?
Yes, sir. Dropping knowledge.
Maybe we can dive in and see what Notre Dame is looking for, and I'll try to figure out what because right now the schools are not open; they're all virtual. Maybe I have to contact some of the administrators and see who's doing what. But I haven't seen anything.
I know a school. I'm not going to say which student. I'm not going to say which student athlete because the mother had reached out to me on Facebook about a flag. I'm not going to say which school, but they actually did a impromptu national, letter signing event at their school today.
Okay.
Though next week is the actual signing day, they still did a school activity for the guys that are signing next week.
That's cool.
So,
well, we'll do that next week. Plus, we'll get ready for the ACC and all these big championship games, and it's gonna be fun.
Absolutely, sir.
All right, for George Bushera, I'm Chris Seidel. For Ewan McCreef, who is hopefully getting better, hopefully see him next week. Thanks for logging in to us here, and enjoy the rest of your week. If you're a Notre Dame fan, enjoy the bye week, and also if you're a Clemson fan, enjoy the bye week. If you're other teams are playing, enjoy your weekend. So thanks for joining us.
Be safe, everybody.
Just about to lose my mind. I was going to Arizona, maybe on to California. Even though minutes of mine. I'm all talking crazy. My baby said I'm crazy. Gonna show 'em all this time.